Hello, Matthew Sweigart here with my daily video log. Yeah, I thought, wow, what am I going to talk about today? And I just got a great prompt from one of my classes that I'm in. And basically, it was say what's on your mind, say what you're thinking about, and just let whatever is authentically emerging within you come forth. And I was reflecting in this moment on this journey that we've been on together in this last week when I particularly went into the three rivers and six houses and the poems that I wrote related to those. And that particular prophecy actually spoke deeply to me about the times that we live in and the life that I've lived. And I thought, well, what's the context for all that? Why is that all so important to me? And I guess it's because of that first river, the river of blood, and then this process of initiation. And I'm reminded of my study with Robert Bly around his work called Iron John, which is a book about men, which is ultimately a book about people. But he speaks to the journey from childhood to adulthood as being a series of initiations. And he speaks specifically, he outlines what he calls the five steps in classical initiation. So, step one, bond with and separate from the mother. Step two, bond with and separate from the father. Step three, apprentice with a mentor. Step four, apprentice with the hurricane. And step five, achieve a sacred marriage. So, those are the five classical initiatory steps that we each must go through on our journey to adulthood. And I'm particularly struck with this idea of the river of blood being completely related to those first two stages of initiation. How do you bond with and separate from mother and father? Fascinating, because to become a full individual in your own, you do need to separate from those parental influences, but you cannot separate from that which you are never bonded with. And I'm reminded of the phrase that says, love is the glue, but love is also the solvent, right? So the bond, the bonding agent, the glue that brings you together is love. And yet the solvent that will dissolve the glue and dissolve the bond is also love. So when I'm learning to cross the river of blood, I'm actually rehearsing and practicing the steps of the first two stages of classical initiation, which are to bond with and separate from mother and father. In the third stage of initiation, I may apprentice with a mentor, and that can actually be pretty darn boring, actually. It's just basically training in a craft or a skill or an approach. And a lot of trips and stumbles along the way as you learn to perfect and master the craft that has chosen you or that you have chosen. And you've apprenticed yourself with a master who knows that craft and can guide you on that journey. That may be boring. It may be very interesting. One of the things that I've seen happen there that is challenging and difficult is that we ask too much of our mentor. For instance, I had a mentor in the Native American sweat lodge tradition, and he was very good at prayer and song and sweat lodge. But when it came to relationship advice, it was awful. He really didn't know his orifices from one from the other. And I could not consult with him for guidance on that path. If I needed to consult with him about guidance for a sweat lodge ritual or a song ritual or some sort of traditional practice, great. He was the go to guy. But when it came to relationship advice, eh, not good. And so this is where we enter into the fourth stage of initiation, which is apprentice with the hurricane. And as many of my friends have shared this, it's kind of like stumbling in the dark to a certain extent. Life is coming at you with all sorts of winds, and you can gauge the winds to a certain extent and guard yourself to be effectively riding those winds, or setting your sails appropriately or furling your sails as need be, because you're learning on the job. It's on the job experience. That's apprentice with the hurricane. And then when it comes to the sacred marriage, that last stage in the classical initiatory process is what I call the union with the divine, which is your divine essence, which may be a human marriage with another human being, or it might be your own soul journey to connect with your own inner essence and your own inner truth. See, I set a timer for myself today, so I'd keep this to about 5 minutes. So that's what I have for you today. Enjoy that idea of classical initiation and crossing rivers, right? Because the rivers of blood, of scorpions, of pus, right? Houses of dark and cold and bats and hungry cats and blades and fire. These are all hurricane influences that have to do a lot with that fourth stage of initiation, apprentice with the hurricane. And finally, what is that sacred marriage? How can you find your own emergent, authentic voice coming forward and coming forth into the world? And so here I am following up on the challenge to just let it out. Here it is. This is my video log. I hope you enjoy it. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow to do another episode, and who knows where it'll go next, but it'll be fun, I'm sure. Thanks so much for listening. Ciao.